Okay, good evening, everyone. Virtual members, good evening. Apologies for the late start today. This is a 20-year tradition, our Member Appreciation Night. So first, a round of applause for all of you for being members. And then, even though they have the banquet space for a reason, serving 130 of your closest friends isn't easy. So a round of applause to our wait staff as well. Who's here for the first time? If you want to stand up, if you don't mind. So with new members, longtime members who haven't necessarily participated in our events, we can get to a 40-year mark with word of mouth. So if you had a good time tonight, tell a coworker, tell a friend, tell a neighbor. We'd love to see more people here. Additional round of applause for everyone for showing up and voting yesterday. Montgomery County had 38%. Howard County, which some of you reside in, had 44%, and Frederick County had 43%. So regardless of if you woke up today happy or not, the good thing is people showed up. That's more people than vote in our elections, which is 6%. So. Then again, I'm the president, so maybe I shouldn't complain. Okay, thanks to all for making last month's two-day symposium that we had the second week of October, the smashing success it was. We have several of the volunteers in the room that made it go off without a hitch. So volunteers and board members, if you want to stand up. Stand up. The second day PDUs took a little bit longer than I thought to get approved, but everybody should have their PDUs. Thanks to everybody for the survey feedback. We'll have that summary report shared out with members in a future newsletter. And thanks again to one of our sponsors, Angel Photography, for all the great work they did. We'll have a photo album link out for those who wanted to take some photos and add to their social media. Okay, in the entrance today, I think we have all along the hallway with food drive items, so that means a lot to us. So thank you very much. I'll be running probably 2 carloads to Manna Food Center as soon as this ends. As in chapter tradition, next month I'll show a picture of me at Manna Food Center, so you know this isn't just stocking my pantry. And we do salute the outgoing executive director of Manna Food Center, Miss Jackie DiCarlo, who is retiring after, I think, 12 years as the executive director. Manna Food Center has done amazing things for Montgomery County. You saw we have over 1 million citizens, many of which are in some shape or form of need. And Manna Food Center's been leading from the front, and no doubt that her legacy will live on and they'll continue to do great things. So a round of applause for them. We did invite her to be here, but her schedule's busy with only a few days left, but she sends her best. If you're finding yourself AI curious, PMI has a free class on data landscape of generative AI for project managers. It's an opportunity to get 5 PDUs. It doesn't take 5 hours. And the real value of this is that it can get your head spinning in terms of how you can use this for your work lives. So that's just on the PMI link, and we'll make sure it's in our newsletter as well. And if I know We're in a basement. Basements only work if you hold up the flooring. So we have a couple spots where you may not be able to see. You're welcome to move your chair in front of the buffet tables if you'd like. So, okay, does anyone need a job or have a job and wants to come up and promote themselves or their company? Okay, one job got given to us earlier. Project control specialist 3, DC hybrid location for Department of Transportation. So if you're interested in that, our co-vice president of programs, Mr. Bill Ziegler in the back, please speak to him. Okay, if you need PDUs, our chapter is one of the few chapters that puts as much of our content as we're allowed on YouTube. The quality isn't award-winning, but you're getting the message. The slides look good, and the PDU claim codes are there. So if you need some background noise, our PMI Montgomery County chapter channel is here for you. Our Toastmasters group, we're one of the few chapters in PMI Global that have a sister Toastmasters chapter or group. So their representation can be here today, but their next meeting is next Wednesday. We can all improve our public speaking, as you're seeing right now. So for those who are looking to maybe get into a new circle, master public speaking, and earn PDUs, this is a great opportunity. Okay, a new book alert. Industry leader and our former chapter board member, Ms. Laura Bernard, recently wrapped up her first book, The Impact Engine. This was a labor of love that took over a decade on Amazon for under $30. We raffled off a few last meeting, and we'll continue to market that. So a great book. Is anybody in the room who won a book last month? Okay, well, I'm sure if they were here, they'd say it's a great read. So. And if Karen could come up with the raffle, if everybody wants to pull the raffle ticket out that they got. Okay, so speaking of books, we have at least 10 books. She's coming, okay. So our keynote speaker for our day one of our symposium last month, Dr. Todd Cashton, psychology professor at George Mason, wrote The Art of Insubordination. So if you were at the symposium, you already got a copy and you won, feel free to share it with a table mate. Signed books make a lovely gift. We also have Malcolm Gladwell's latest book, Revenge of the Tipping Point. This is a follow-up to his first book, which made him a world-renowned thought leader. The Tipping Point. He did an engagement in DC the day after our last chapter event, which was the second day of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year holiday. I was in the doghouse with my lovely Jewish significant other for having the PMI meeting here the first night. So the second night I couldn't go to the event, but I was able to pick up the signed book afterwards. And I still wanted to see Mr. Gladwell speak, so I ended up driving to Philly for another speaking engagement. So both of those signed books that I can verify as authentic are going to be raffled off. And our amazing speakers tonight from Leadership Techniques have also donated 3 copies of the engagement matrix, which they'll be referencing throughout their book or talk. So if I could get one volunteer. Any volunteers? Okay. We're just going to start pulling numbers and come up. So the first 3 will be the engagement matrix from our speakers. They will be signing and personalizing this after the evening.
7151.
7151. Okay, come up, please. Round of applause for him. Okay. Don't go too far.
7190.
7190. Oh, go ahead. Oh, great. Easy. I believe you. And one more.
Okay, 7186.
7186. Hey, there we go. Okay, if you want to have somebody pull 2 this time. This will be for Malcolm Gladwell's latest book, right there. And they can sign it for you right now.
Okay, first one is 7163.
7163. There can only be one winner. There we go. Let's come up. And what's the second one? You can pull it if you want. Hey, buddy.
It's 7128.
7128. Hey, there we go. There, man. Yep. Oh, I believe you. Okay, if you just want to pull 11. Yep. And this will be for the Art of Insubordination, so it could either be your first copy, if you're at the symposium, your second copy.
7130.
7130. Okay. 30. Hey, we have a winner. Great.
Seven oh nine three.
7193. 093. Yep, we have a winner. Okay, next.
7155.
7155. Yeah. Close proximity. Next.
7087.
7087. Hey, there we go. Next.
7120.
7120. Our Zoom attendees are like, why are you doing this? Next.
7176.
7176.
Okay. 7100.
7100. Okay, they're coming. Keep going.
7106.
7106. At this point, it's going to be if you didn't win a book, then yeah. Keep on going. 7105. Yeah. And 2 more.
Okay. 7140.
7140. Yep. Okay, and the last one. 7133. Hey, there we go. Thanks, Ed. Okay, we appreciate that. And we try to stay on the cusp of professional development, nonfiction. So every time you come, there'll at least be a book raffle of some shape or form. So, and maybe you can go to Pizza Hut and get a book at personal pan pizza coupon. Okay, speaking of deals, we'll continue our holiday special $10 dinner next month. So we hope to have just as many of you in the room. We'll have a presentation and fireside chat on quantum computing project management by Mr. Ron Smith, who's a senior physicist with 4S, one of our sponsors from last month's symposium. So that registration will be open tomorrow, and there'll be a Christmas tree here. We look forward to seeing as many of you as possible. And we'll also have a holiday toy drive that goes to Montgomery County Family Services. Our education partners are doing amazing things. If your company or agency has an education allowance that runs out at the end of the year, looking at our website education calendar and our newsletter, or just seeking out some of these great education providers, including our speakers this evening. They have great programs, both virtual and in person. If you have the allowance to spend from your company anyway, you may as well use it. So, and it's our distinguished honor. Now their opening remarks are finally over, to introduce our featured speakers for the evening from Leadership Techniques LLC, Ms. Lisa Hammer and Mr. David Newman. Round of applause for them. They're speaking for a record 11th time for our chapter, so they just broke the tie with their longtime collaborator, Mr. Carl Pritchard. So our programs team of Roxanne and Bill will continue to just keep a tie and then see who breaks the tie. And Lee Lampert is at 9, so if we can get him to come from Ohio. But they're the authors of one of the best books of 2023, The Engagement Matrix, which 3 of you now have. Mr. Newman holds 15 active project management and human resources certifications, so it's an alphabet soup after his name on LinkedIn. There's still PMI came out with a construction management professional certification, so we can expect that before the holidays. The great thing about Leadership Techniques is that they've continued to evolve their curriculum to stay in a heartbeat away from how project management is being occurring today. That's been recognized by PMI Global, their authorized training partner, which isn't an easy designation to get. And they've had over 50 PMI Global speaking engagements, and PMI Global isn't just booking hacks like me. They have to pass the sniff test. So great credit to them. Even though Mr. Newman brags about the certifications, Ms. Hammer is a former board officer with the PMI Baltimore, one of our sister chapters, and has dedicated her life and has quite the legacy in program and project management. So we welcome them to our stage for the 11th time. Their presentation is going to be a deep dive into servant leadership, and I don't think there's any more example of servant leadership than them. They drove down from Delaware today. They've donated the stress balls and pins. They donated their time and the books. So if that's not servant leadership, I'm not sure what is. But round of applause again for them.
Clicker gives us the mic.
Okay. We'll be talking, we'll be calling Carl on the way home to let him know.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you. It's so good to see everyone here again. And thank you, Matt, for everything you and everyone else on the board do for this chapter. Without these volunteers, we would not have this meeting tonight. So please give them all another round of applause. All right. Matt is going to bring up is it just clicking after this? Oh, it's right here. Whoa, he is just, look at him. And welcome to those of you who are on the phone. You missed a great dinner. Next time, get here in person. No, I'm just kidding. All right. It's so good to see everyone here. So Dave and I haven't been here in a little while, as Matt mentioned. We moved out to Delaware, right by the beach. I know you all feel really badly for us. But we do have to drive home tonight and teach PMP tomorrow morning. So, but we're excited to be here. So we want to talk a little bit about servant leadership and where all this came from.
So tonight is a celebration of PMI Montgomery County, which means it's a celebration of Charlie Geist. By the way, we didn't write that intro for Matt, so thank you very much, Matt.
Yeah.
We're going to really try hard to live up to that. Because when we talked to Matt and the board a few weeks ago about doing a presentation tonight at PMI Montgomery County at this dinner meeting, you know, I can't say Lisa hesitated, but I definitely hesitate about doing big presentations like this in front of large groups of people and stuff. And we talked about the topic being servant leadership, and I love that topic. We both love that topic. And both of us, on the way home, when we were riding home and talking about this, we said, man, that's going to be pretty easy to talk about. At PMI Montgomery County dinner meeting, talking about servant leadership, because you know, whenever you hear about servant leadership, people start their conversations about servant leadership with, you know, there's a lot of examples of servant leadership, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Jesus Christ, right? That's, you don't have to look that far to find servant leaders. We have a room full of servant leaders here. Project managers by their nature are servant leaders. But ever since we were coming to PMI Montgomery County long before we started teaching. And we started hearing about servant leadership right away from Charlie Geis. He was absolutely a living example of servant leadership. So this is a celebration of Charlie Geis and of all of you tonight.
So Dave and I joined Montgomery County PMI right when we got our PMPs and when we decided we would start our company, which was in 2010. And we weren't speakers right away. We were attendees. And so we attended the meetings like you did. And we actually, if you were there at Normandy Farms, how many of you went to the dinners at Normandy Farms? Yeah. So you know there was a table in the back. Bill, you know that table. We called it the troublemaker table, right? And we would sit, he's over there in the troublemaker table once again, right? Bill Ziegler, yep. Tricia, so we used to sit in the back and we called it the troublemaker table. So we got to know everyone there as attendees, and we were part of the attendee group. And then we were asked to speak. We started our company leadership techniques in 2010. We were invited to speak, and we thought, wow, you know, we really have to do well. These are people who really know us. And we weren't going to take it for granted that just because you knew us, you would be okay. So we really practiced, and we did dry runs, and we did all kinds of things. And we got to know Charlie pretty well. So this was us, one of our first presentations back in probably 2012, maybe. Dave, you had a lot less gray in the beard. Yeah. So we were doing the presentation, and any of you remember Charlie giving people the hook? You know what I'm talking about with the hook? Yeah. So when you had about 5 minutes to go, Charlie would walk up on the side of the stage. Scott, you remember that, right? And then when there was about 2 minutes to go, he'd get much closer to you, right? And then when your time was up, he'd be right there next to you. Charlie gave you the hook. This is Charlie giving me the hook, right? This is Charlie giving me the evil eye to make sure. But why was he doing that? Charlie was doing that to make sure you got out of here on time. You got home. Well, he didn't know if you went home or not. That's another story. We know this crowd could maybe go somewhere else. But Charlie was committed to making sure you got out of here on time. And that was one of the things he always did.
All right, so servant leadership, again, one of our favorite topics. We've been talking about it since we started teaching. This is a picture of Robert K. Greenleaf, who first wrote about servant leadership back in 1970 with a series of academic essays about servant leadership. And so that's sort of when we first started hearing about servant leadership, really in the United States in management. Now, I know you can't tell by looking at me, but I was in the workforce in the 1970s, and I could tell you that not a lot of managers were practicing servant leadership back then. But yeah, before we get into kind of that and servant leadership, I want to tell you that Lisa and I actually disagree. I know that you're going to find this hard to believe, but actually, that's true. I didn't mean that. We disagree with one another. We disagree with the PMI about servant leadership. What? Am I allowed to say that at a PMI dinner? Well, we were recently at the Global Summit, and we told the executives of PMI that we disagree with them as well. Because if you study servant leadership under the PMI, what you get the impression is that servant leadership is at one end of a continuum, and at the other end of that continuum is authoritarian leadership. And that is not correct, right? So as servant leaders, as project managers, we have to do a lot of different things, right? How do we act as servant leaders for our teams? We filter, right? Sometimes our leadership is not leading us the way we want to lead our teams in a manner of servant leadership. So we do filtering, we do blocking, right? We block time. Sometimes we block people from going into the room so that they can't interrupt them, right? Things like that. But we protect our people. And sometimes we have to coach and discipline as well, right? As leaders, unfortunately, sometimes the job calls for that. And you know what? If we're coaching and disciplining our people in a way that says, we are trying to help you grow. We're trying to help you be better at your job. We know you want this job, right? We're trying to help you be better. And that's why we're doing that. That's all under the umbrella of servant leadership. So it's not at the opposite end of the spectrum from authoritarian leadership. Situational leadership calls for the fact everybody's familiar with Tuckman's stages of team development, right? Forming, everybody want to do it together? Forming, storming, norming. That was pretty weak, but it's okay. I know you just ate. So, but when the team is in the storming stage, we have to make decisions, right? We have to move the team forward. We have to help them move through conflict. Well, we have to sometimes use authoritarian leadership style to do that, but we're still doing it as a servant leader. We're still serving our team. So it's not at the other end of the spectrum. And I really, truly believe that the PMI is listening to folks like us. It's not just us that's giving them that kind of feedback. And they're going to change their views on that eventually. It's already changed in the CAPM material that's out, the new material. So servant leadership is an umbrella, and situational leadership is definitely called for. As project managers, we have to deal with different situations every single day. But as long as we're doing it all from the perspective of we want our people to grow and be better as a result of our leadership, then whatever style of leadership the situation calls for, it can all be done under the umbrella of servant leadership. And that is all I wanted to say about that slide.
That was the hint to me.
So this is Greenleaf's definition. It begins with servant first. I have in my notes here a bunch of quotes. But the most important one is that the leader first and the servant first are two extreme types. And between them, there's a lot of shadings and blends that are part of the infinite variety of human nature. The difference manifests itself in the care taken by the servant first to make sure that other people's highest priority needs are being served. And the best test, he said, and difficult to administer, is do those served grow as persons? Do they, while being served, become healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, more likely themselves to become servant leaders? And the reason he went into it, by the way, Robert Greenleaf was 65 years old when he, younger than I am now, 65 years old when he started writing the academic essays, and he was retired. He had been retired from AT&T, where he worked for 35 years, and then he was working as a management consultant, consulting to presidents of universities for a few years. And then he started getting into this, right, and writing, and people said, why are you doing this? Why are you taking the time to do this? And his answer was because he wants to make the world a better place. He wants to build a more productive and happier, help to build a more productive and happier society. And so that is exactly why we love talking about servant leadership, because as project managers, something that we've always loved about project management, both of us, is that in fact, one of the most common questions we get as project management trainers is, how do I lead without authority, right? Because so many of us have project teams that work for us on our projects, but they don't report directly to us. And so we don't have managerial authority. And our first answer to that is managerial authority isn't really going to help you that much anyway. Because if it was that easy to just tell people what had to be done and they were just going to do it, then, you know, leadership would be pretty easy, right? But the reality is we don't even have that managerial authority most of the times as project managers. And so servant leadership really becomes a very, very effective tool for us, because when your teams realize that every action you're taking is for their benefit, every action you're taking as a leader is to help them be better as an employee and help them be more successful as a project team, then they become highly motivated and they become your team, right? So it's a great way to lead, and it works.
So I want to make it clear, when people think of servant leadership, they think of like laissez-faire leadership, like just lay back, don't bother anyone. And that's not what servant leadership is at all. Servant leadership is helping people do what they need to do and being there for them and supporting them. But it also means disciplining them when you need to. So it's not laid back leadership. And there are some quotes from Greenleaf that we want to share and talk about a little bit. The next one is, come on, the mark of a leader, an attribute that puts him or her in a position to show the way for others, is that he or she is better than most at pointing the direction. So Dave and I have worked with a lot of organizations over the years, both as employees and then consulting as we've done over the past, how many years? 15 years together in our company. Absolutely. One of the, we encountered one leader that we want to mention, and we won't name names, obviously, but one of the people we worked with was an executive director of a nonprofit, and she was very, very helpful to her team all the time. She was actually being honored at a big dinner one night for all the contributions she had done to for the community. And it was set up like this, where there were rounds of, 8 or 10 to a table, and the room was full. And she had invited us to join them because we had done a lot of work with her organization. And we were halfway through the lovely buffet dinner, and in walks one of her employees who was razzled and came in late and, had all these issues, and there was no seat for her. What this director did was not only got up from the table with her plate, walked over to the bar, and had the young lady sit in her seat. Here she is being honored. She got up from the table. She then took the corsage that had been pinned on her and put it on her team member, just to make her feel whole, just to make her feel comfortable. And that was just such a, I kind of tear up when I think about this story, because that was just so amazing. She just wanted her to be comfortable, to feel good. So there's little things we can do to serve our team. She knew this young lady was having a terrible night and really worked hard to get there. So we were pretty impressed with that. Another quote I want to mention, though, which is a little bit of a contrast: by clearly stating and restating the goal, the leader gives certainty and purpose to others who may have difficulty in achieving it for themselves. One of the things we need to be really careful of as leaders is that our teams understand what we want them to do. We were working in another organization where the senior manager was very frustrated that the team wasn't doing what they wanted. And he said to us, they just don't do what I need done. And was giving us a specific example of one thing that was going on. And we said, okay, great. Well, show us the document you gave them to explain what you need done. And he said, I don't have a document. And we said, okay, show us the email that you sent them. I don't have an email. Tell us about the meeting you had when you explained what to do. I don't have an email. We said, well, how do you expect your team to know what to do? Any guesses as to what he said? 4 words.
They should know what I've done.
They should just know. They should just know. Those 4 words. And we said, no, they should not. They are not in your head. They don't have your experience. They haven't been doing what you've been doing. They should not just know. You need to make sure that you help guide people and lead them along the way, because they're not going to just know what to do.
One question.
Yes, sir.
My environment, we have a new chief information officer. His mantra is somewhat similar, but I can tell you what to do and how to do it, but I'd rather you bring it to me how it should be done. It's kind of a riddle. You bring stuff and it's like a handshake. No, that's not it. So what are your recommendations for overcoming that or coming to some common ground? Which we just give up. We just go, yes, please tell us how to do it, and then over time,
You want to go?
get the swing of it.
She, in the case that Lisa's talking about, what they were asking for was what needed to be done, not how to do it, right? So when Lisa's saying the person was confused about what the boss wanted, what the boss was saying, they should know what I want. They should already know what I want, because the person has a master's degree and they're really smart and they're educated, so they should already know what I want. Basically, they were saying they should be able to read their mind. So that the boss wasn't saying that I want to tell you exactly how to do things, and the person wasn't saying I don't know how to do something. What they were saying was, I don't know what you want. I have no idea what you want me to do.
Yeah, but I do have an answer for you, Matt, because I was in that situation. I used to work for someone, I called him the idea man. He always had ideas of what we wanted, but would never tell us how to get there. So I don't think it's a terrible thing to say, here we are, I need you to do this, come up with a plan. And, but you need to do it within a budget. You need to do it within time, right? Because we didn't want to do all of that and then get told, no, that's not the way I wanted it. So as a leader, as your chief person who is doing this, if you're coming up with a solution that will get you where you need to be, they can't bust it down if they don't like it. So if you start here and he wants you to go here, he may say, go this way. But if you want to go this way and you still get there, he has to be accepting of it, in my opinion, right? He has to be open to different ways of doing it without you taking too much time. So I used to do that where I'd want people to think and come up with ideas, but we do a limit. You know, come back to me in 2 days. You know, don't spend forever coming up with a solution. Sure. All right. And he works at a very high power organization. So, all right. Thanks, Matt. Listening and understanding. Why is there so little listening? Matt and I'll talk later. He knows my number. Yes, ma'am.
So, for example, when you say, what that's good. So I think there is a danger that the leadership partner takes over the meeting. We don't have the skills in the project. We manage. So project management is the ground foundation, and then it comes up with the superstructure kind of thing. What do you think about this? Because I've been trying to be project managers for the same time, and honestly, they're not there to provide project leadership, but they lost the ability to provide project management as well. And this is very factual tangible skills that you need project manager. Art and soft skills, and everything is kind of blurred.
Yep, thank you for the question. So I don't know how much you heard of it, but it was the issue of management versus leadership. I'm going to answer this and then we're going to move on. We'll take more questions at the end, but I do want to address this. So and this is not another self-promoting question, we are not training people appropriately to do the job they need to do. And we hear that all the time. SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management, did a study recently, and they said that we put people into leadership positions at the age of 35. We send people to leadership training at the age of 46. That's a problem. We're putting people into leadership positions for 10 or more years without telling them how to be an effective leader. So we need to do a better job at training people and working with people and coaching them as we go along the way. Thank you for that question. Listening and understanding. Why is there so little listening? I mean, you guys have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should listen twice as much as you talk, right? But we don't listen very well. When somebody's talking to you, when someone comes to you with a challenge or a question, what are you doing? Are you listening to them? Are you giving them your full attention? Yes, thank you. You're thinking of the answer. You're not listening to them. You're thinking about how am I going to reply? We need to do a better job of listening to people and listening to hear what they're saying. Another quote of Greenleaf, part of it, I believe, with those who lead, is that the usual leader in the face of a difficulty tends to react by trying to find someone else on whom to pin the problem rather than the automatic response, I have a problem, what can I do about my problem? A servant leader will listen first. A servant leader will listen to what's going on. And if we train ourselves to listen first, it's going to help us be a better leader.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, this quote says, anybody could lead perfect people if there were any. That's Greenleaf. That's not the end of the quote. He said, but there aren't any perfect people. And this is a Greenleaf quote, by the way. It's not Dave Newman, okay? And the parents who try to raise perfect children are certain to raise neurotics. This is Greenleaf that said that. It's part of the enigma of human nature that the typical person, immature, stumbling, inept, lazy, is capable of great dedication and heroism if one is wisely led. So being a great leader means meeting people where they are, right? Leaders, we help people do more than they thought they could do on their own. We help them to be successful. And don't forget that when people come to work for us, they already want to be successful, right? Most people don't start a new job. Those of you that have been in our classes know we say this all the time. Most people don't start a new job going, I hate it here. God, I hope I fail. You know, ask somebody on their second day of a new job how it's going. What you're not going to hear is, oh, another day in paradise. But after they've been there 3 or 4 months, you might hear that, or 3 or 4 years, right? We hear it quite a lot. So none of us are perfect. We're human. That's what we bring to the table, right? That's going to become increasingly important over the next few years, according to our buddy Ray Kurzweil. Anybody listen to Ray Kurzweil? Anybody using AI? How many of you use AI in your work, in your regular work every day? Not that many. I'm not seeing that many hands going up, right? Yeah. So anyway, you know, there's a lot of talk about AI. The PMI is promoting the use of AI. We have PMI Infinity, which is a closed database. So, you know, there's a lot of talk out there about AI producing hallucinations, which is what they call it when AI makes a mistake, right? We call it a hallucination. Sam Altman from OpenAI said hallucinations are not a bug. They are undocumented features. I'm a software development manager. I got to tell you, every software developer that ever worked for me said that about every bug we ever produced. But AI is coming. It's not coming. It's here. It's here. It's absolutely here. And to think that we're going to push back against it and not use AI would be like being a project manager in the 80s and say, well, you know what? I don't like computers. I'm not going to use them. That would be just insane, right? We can look back on that and say that's crazy. So we're not going to do that. We're going to use AI. We encourage you to use it. PMI is encouraging us to use it because we need to create positive demand for it so that the investment dollars keep going to the right places. But in the meantime, we want you to think a little bit about, do we have time for this little activity here? Okay. So, okay, so we want you to think a little bit about AI and humanoid robots and the things that computers can do and robots will be able to do in a couple of years. And, you know, if you thought about this 2 or 3 years ago, most people said robots will never replace project managers. Most people aren't saying that anymore. There's a lot of project management that robots and computers and AI can do. So what we want you to think about at your tables for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then maybe a couple of you can give us a little bit of feedback, is in the age of AI, what do you bring to the table as a human being that a computer can't?
So we're going to give you about 3 minutes to chat with the folks at your table. We will let you know when we're done, and then we're going to just call on a couple of people. So talk away, 3 minutes. One more minute, one more minute. You people on the phone talk amongst yourselves. All right, let's get back together. It sounds like the conversation's dwindling a little bit. And we don't want the hook from Matt or anyone. So let's go ahead. What I'm going to do is ask if anyone wants to share, but we're going to give you like 30 seconds. So you have 30 seconds to share what you came up with. Who would like to share? Gail, you got 30 seconds. Stand up so everyone could hear you.
PM brings to the table more the human aspect to connect, or another conversation about AI cannot make that cultural context different between what different people do in Saudi Arabia here to here. So there are things that as a PM we can still bring to the table now that AI cannot do right now. I'm not saying that's not going to happen in the future.
Good. I like that, and good job. And I'm glad you caveat that, because in the future, they will. Yes, in the middle there. Oh, you're standing. Yes, Karen. Okay, all right. The art of project management, not the science. Good job. Give them a hand. Thank you. One more? One more? One more person want to share? What did you say? I heard you right away. You said something. You said EI.
Talk about emotional intelligence and how can you train a computer to assess and meet every person on your team wherever they happen to be. I think that's really important to get people to perform.
Great. All right. Give them a hand as well.
You know, there's an AI out there called PI, and it advertises itself as the first emotionally intelligent AI. So, of course, the first question I asked it was, are you emotionally intelligent? And it said no. Not in the same way as humans, anyway. Anyway, okay, next we have this slide about awareness perception. And Greenleaf's quote that we wanted to talk about here, well, not really a quote, but what he talked about was he used an analogy of light as time. So in other words, the leader, you know, is like a person walking along and you're leading a team and you're in the dark and you have a light, right? So you have a light shining above you, and that light creates, you know, a circle of light around you. And as the leader, we kind of point that light a little bit forward, right? So that we could see a little bit more of the way forward than maybe the team does. The team is trusting us to know the way forward, right? But because we are using that light and we're seeing forward, and we're also using our knowledge and our experience to help the team be more and more successful, we're able to recognize problems before they happen sometimes, or before other people are able to recognize them because of our experience. A good leader often seems prescient A good leader often seems like they can tell the future because they can see those problems and recognize that they're going to become problems before maybe other people do. That's why they're counting on us to be a leader, right? And so what Greenleaf is encouraging us to do is make sure that we're always pointing that light as far forward as we can so that we're showing the way for people, so that we're really able to lead people in the right direction. And if we're shining that light forward and we see that something's in our way, that's not okay. Then we have to find a way around it. If there's political roadblock, office politics, right? I mean, office politics, right? Those are the kinds of things that sometimes cause obstacles and cause stumbling blocks for teams. Those are the things that it's our job to resolve, right? And so find the ways around those obstacles and lead the team to success. Shine the light out there for them.
All right, so this quote is another quote. And what is the effect on the least privileged in society? Will they benefit or at least not be further denied? What does that quote mean to anyone? Anyone have any thoughts with that? Does that resonate with you?
That's AI.
You think that's AI?
They have music and understanding, they could be further deprived and further back than everybody else knows the fun.
Okay, good. Yeah, least privileged means by helping everyone, it helps all of us. We have to help everyone, make it better for everyone. Like Matt said earlier, or Dave said earlier, Matt said, I think, making the world a better place, right? We all have to do that. We all can make it's interesting. Interesting to us because it's about us, but no, I'm just kidding. Somebody asked us once, what was our mission statement for our little two-person company? And we said it's to make the world a better place. And there was an attendee, it was at a symposium, one of the PMI chapters, not this one. You guys are nice. It was another chapter. And somebody kind of in the first row said, that's a rather bold statement for two people. And we said, no, not really. We can all make the world a better place. And you know the starfish story, right? You all know that story. Very quickly, I'm going to ad lib it. A little boy is throwing starfish back in the ocean. Someone walks by and goes, what are you doing? He says, I'm trying to save these starfish. And the guy says, there's millions of them here. You can't save them all. And he goes, I just saved that one. So yeah, we can help. We can all, if we all wake up every morning and say, I'm going to help one person today, that's making the world a better place. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be money. You don't have to do anything like that. But we all want to do that. And we're doing our project work to find ways to positively impact those around us. And we each have different ideas of what that is. We each have different ideas of what makes the world a better place. You probably heard the quote that's attributed to John F. Kennedy. I'm not trying to be political today, I'm sorry, but it was in here. A rising tide lifts all the boats. You've heard that quote? Yep, so that quote meant a lot to us. So in 2009, Dave and I decided to start our company, and we wanted to teach project management. And we knew a guy, we were living in Frederick, Maryland at the time. And we knew a guy who lived in Frederick, Maryland, who was also teaching project management. And we didn't want to step on his toes. We had a great deal of respect for him, still do. So we contacted him and we asked if we could meet. Y'all know who that is, right? Yeah. Go ahead, he deserves it. We beat you though, Carl. Yeah, so Carl, of course, as he would, didn't really know us, although Dave had taken PMP from him, but Dave wasn't that notable at the time. He didn't have 19 certifications. Carl said, sure, come on over. So we went over to his house and we said, Carl, we live in your town and we want to teach project management. We don't want to piss you off. We don't want to upset you, but we're going to kind of be in your market. We're going to tap into the same students. We're going to attend the same PMI meetings. And we just want to let you know that. What did Carl say to us? How can I help? That's what Carl said to us. That's a servant leader. Carl said, how can I help? I guarantee you there were other people we went to with the same discussion. We didn't get the same response. But Carl said to us, how can I help? And then he went on to say, a rising tide lifts all the boats. And we always think of Carl when we think of that, because Carl was truly a servant leader and very good friend of ours. And, you know, to this day, how many of you know Carl? Yeah, how could you not, right? And you know, Carl a few years ago was stricken with cancer, and he's gone through a lot of treatment, and he's doing great. He's back teaching a little bit here and there. And if any of you follow him on LinkedIn or Facebook, he's written a journal of his experience. And that's also very much servant leadership, because he's showing other people how he works through what's going on with him. So we can't say enough good things about Carl and how much he has supported us throughout our years. You're all teary-eyed, Dave. These are a few other servant leaders that we just grabbed some pictures off the website. Yep. So we have been coming to these chapter meetings for a long time, and we've seen these faces for a long time. And they are always here to greet you and to help you and to support you. And again, these dinner meetings would not happen without these members. How much do you get paid for these meetings, Jean? Yeah. PMI is a volunteer organization, except HQ up in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. They make the big bucks up there. But the local chapters, it's all volunteer. And these folks really, really work hard. Karen, your face is behind the Zoom call, but you're there too. So yeah, there you go. But Karen is VP of Communication. Jean is currently VP of Treasury and Finance. Matt is your president. Casa, VP of Education. And James, VP of Special Projects. So give them another round of applause. You know, we also know that there are other people we don't know who do work. We looked at the website, and the other thing we saw was we are looking for a great leader, and they were looking for VP of programs at the time. So we thought if any of you wanted to be a servant leader, you could serve as VP of programs. But we also learned they have 2 more people on the board. So thank you to Bill Ziegler and Roxanne Angel for stepping up and being their co-VP of program. So servant leadership is not about doing something for yourself. It's how could you help others? What else could you do for other people? Want to say a few more words? A few more minutes.
I wasn't expecting to. All right. Okay, so servant leadership. What are the other things we talk about with servant leadership? First of all, one other thing about servant leadership is that there are some great books out there by a guy named James C. Hunter about servant leadership. So you may want to check those out as well. They're a little bit more, I want to use the word readable. Look, Greenleaf's essays are academic essays. If you're into academic essays, you're going to love them. But, you know, they're a little bit dry, and they are, in his own words, streams of consciousness. So they're very, very interesting. But Hunter's books are a little bit more novel-like, right? So they are a little bit smoother. They're easier to read. They read like a story. But one of the things that Hunter points out is that there's a paradigm that's very, very normal in industry that says that as you look at the hierarchy of an organization, they're sort of built like a military organization. You know, you have the generals and the officers at the top, and then down through the non-commissioned officers, and then the enlisted people, and then the enemy way at the bottom. And the enlisted people are the ones that, you know, usually are face to face with the enemy. So when you put that into the context of an organization, you have the senior staff, the senior executives, and then the director level and the managers, and then the employees, and then way down the bottom below the employees is the customers. That aligning the customers with the enemy, right? And the customer is not the enemy. And so what we need to do is twist that around. We need to flip that picture around and put the customers at the top of the org chart. And that's very much the way servant leadership is seen. Richard Branson talks about that, right? If I put my employees first, put my employees at the top of the company, they'll take care of the customers. And so if you do that, we actually had one client that flipped their org chart around, literally flipped their org chart around, put the CEO at the bottom, and then the managers up like that, so that all the employees are at the top of the org chart. And that picture makes it very obvious then that management's job is not to boss people around. Management's job is to serve the people, right? To make sure that the people have what they need at each level to be able to do the best job possible. And that's what servant leadership is all about.
Yeah, I want Dave to talk about one more thing, but I just wanted to give you an introduction. How many of you attended the symposium last month? So many of you attended it, and it was your first exposure to AI, is that right? How many of you have tried to use AI since then? Okay, good. So we've been teaching AI quite a bit lately. It's something very important to us. We feel that if you are any kind of a leader, you are going to be using AI and teaching it. Dave's daughter actually is a project manager. She's a PMP. And we asked her how often she uses AI, and she said every day to write emails, to do outlines, to help with proposals. She uses it constantly. And if you don't use it, you're really leaving things behind. So you can use it for so many things, but you have to be careful. I mean, one of the things she said to us is, you know, she got her performance review lately, and it was really flowery, and she knows her boss doesn't know those words. So she said, there's no way he wrote that, you know? Yeah, whatever. So she said, there's no way, you know, I wrote that. But AI is here to help us. It's not a bad thing. So as a leader, we really encourage you to not only use it, but encourage others to use it. I don't know if any of you saw the special that Oprah Winfrey hosted last month where Bill Gates was on. And he said the next 10 years, technology will move faster than he's ever in his life seen it. And for Bill Gates to say that, you know, that's pretty good. So don't leave it behind. It's like those of us, like Dave said in the 80s, who said, who needs a computer in our house, you know? Guess what? We do. But we really, and this is not self-serving, we think it's really important to make sure we share this message. And we do a lot of training on AI. We have a class coming up in December. But some of you seemed a little jealous that we live by the beach. We are now doing conferences at the beach. So we do a few of our, who's been to them? Karen, Gail, yep, up here. So yeah, we do like 3 or 4 day conferences in Rehoboth Beach. And we have one coming up in May. Dave, tell them a little bit about it. I know.
Yeah, I don't remember the title of it actually, but the content is going to be all about using AI as a project manager. We're going to go through some of the tools. I have no idea what they are because we don't know what tools are going to be available by next April. That's a really serious statement. So we'll be doing research and we'll be keeping up with things, and we'll make sure that we have access to the latest and greatest, at least from the PMI, in terms of how to use AI effectively in project management. But the other topic that's near and dear to our heart is sustainability, green project management. And so we've been presenting on that as well lately. There's a GPM-basic certification available for all of us through the PMI. That's a joint venture with the Green Project Management Association. It's a great certification, pretty easy to get, pretty straightforward, but it's got a lot of awesome information in it. It talks about the P5 standard for project management. Basically, it's a way of integrating sustainability, regenerative sustainability, actually. Regenerative sustainability means regular sustainability is that we're going to do our work without damaging the environment. Regenerative sustainability means while we are doing our work, we're going to make the environment better than it was, right? So a very simple example of that, right? It's just the old Boy Scout creed, leave things better than the way we found it. When we go to the beach now, sustainability would be going to go to the beach and leave only our footprints, right? Regenerative sustainability says, I'm going to go to the beach and I'm going to carry off some trash that I didn't take there, right? Now, it's unfortunate that I can pretty much say with certainty that every time I go to the beach, I can find trash and pick it up, and trash that I didn't leave there, right? So that's a very micro example of regenerative sustainability. Imagine that all the way to the organizational level, where we're doing our project work and we can actually integrate some sustainability, regenerative sustainability into our project plan. In other words, if we want regenerative sustainability and sustainability to actually take hold in the business world, then we can't eco shame companies, right? We have to make it affordable. We have to make it feasible. We have to, in fact, make it profitable. And that's what the P5 standard and green project management helps us do. And we project managers are the ones that can make the difference, right? We don't have to sit around and wait for legislation to force sustainability on enterprises and businesses. We here in this room can figure out how to make the world a better place from the inside out as we're doing the work that our leaders need us to do. So that's what Teach at the Beach in the spring is going to be all about. Anything else you want me to talk about?
Yeah, that's our new tagline, Teach at the Beach. We love the fact that you're all here to learn. I know a lot of you are here for a free dinner, which it was fabulous. Thank you to That's Amore. But you're also here to learn, and that's one of the things that we feel is so important. And, you know, a lot of people say to us, why does PMI make us get PDUs? Well, it's not because they're trying to make money off of you. They want you to stay current. They want you to keep learning. And Dave wasn't joking when he said to you, we don't know what AI tools we'll be talking about at our conference, May 7th or 10th in Rehoboth Beach. He wasn't joking because it's going to change so much that we're going to need to keep current. So it's great that you keep current. It's important for you to be a real leader, for you to serve your people best. You need to stay current, stay relevant, and bring what you can to them so that they know that you're doing the best you can. With that, I want to once again thank all of you for being here. I want to thank the board, who is just amazing, and of course the staff at That's Amore. Any questions? No, you could clap. Okay. Any other questions? All right, Matt, thank you so much for having us here. We appreciate all of you. We'll be talking about you on our drive home to Delaware tonight.
Another round of applause for our featured presenters. Okay, we know it's been a long night. A lot of you got here before 1800, so for the Marines in the crowd, happy Marine Corps birthday this weekend. For any veterans or family members of veterans, happy Veterans Day on Monday. In the spirit of the presentation and the week's events, if you look around the room, we're all Americans. Be kind, be a good neighbor. If you wake up every morning with the goal of adding value to another citizen, you're on the right track. So thank you for being members on this member appreciation night. We hope to fill this room as much as possible the first Wednesday of December for a $10 holiday special. Mr. Jones may be dressed up like Santa Claus. We're still recruiting him. And safe travels this evening. And thank you for your membership and thank you for your time this evening.